Hello everyone and welcome to this video. I hope the Lord is treating you beautifully. I hope that you're getting stupendous revelations despite the darkness of the time. The light is really shining through. What I had to share this time was, sometimes where the Lord will actually say something to you, the same phrase over and over again until you realize it's actually Him talking to you. And you start to take stock, you sit down and you think about it. And what I'd been hearing today was the Lord saying, I can save by many or by few. Daughter, I can save by many or by few. And I'm thinking, well, yes, Lord, I know you can. Sometimes the Lord, in order to achieve a victory, He will use the mighty army of saints. And of course, we can never exclude the armies of heaven helping us. Without them, I think few of us would be here today. Or He can simply use one person or a small group of persons. And I felt what the Lord was saying today is that let's concentrate on the few. So the Lord is saying, I can save by many or by few. And I thought, okay, Lord. And it seems to me it's coming from a context where I've had contact with people who are feeling restrained and constrained in their situations. And I wonder if that's you. If it's you, this video is definitely for you, and I pray it falls on the correct ears as I'm sharing what the Lord has said to me. So the Lord can use a great army. He can use one person, two people. And I keep seeing these pictures, and I know so many people at the moment who feel like they're quite alone in their own personal battle. But what I know is when they actually win their own personal battle, they are going to be the source of deliverance and freedom for a huge number of people. And for that, it needs a lot of audacity, and the pressure is huge. But as I've said in previous videos, that's how the Lord actually is training His leaders at this moment in time. So I hope that gives you some encouragement. And I started to think, well, the Bible talks quite a lot about the many and the few. And you can look later if you want, but I was looking at the story of in Matthew 20 and verse 16. And it's where Jesus is talking about the hiring of the laborers. Do you remember those who are hired early in the day, and finally those who are hired later in the day? And of course, there's great offense and indignation when at the end of the day, everyone is given the same pay. And what the Lord is actually saying at the end is, don't get offended. There are those who He is bringing in at this time, and they will achieve their goals. They will do the work. And He says, in actual fact, many are called, but few are chosen. And there is a difference. Many people are called, but few people are actually divinely selected to go right to the end of what the Lord has called them to do. And I would rather be part of the second category. We're all in the first. We are all absolutely called, but few will actually perhaps have the guts, the tenacity to go through to actually be chosen. And again, it's again in St. Matthew's Gospel, and this time it's Matthew 22. And it's verse 14. And this one is talking about the wedding, where the father sends out absolutely all over for the wedding guests, come to the marriage. And of course, we know that many are actually invited. Many have been called, but they all find excuses not to come on the appointed day. They've got various things to do. And I know there are days where I've said, Lord, if you can just wait, I just need to do this. I just need to do the other. We're not in a season where the Lord is going to put up with that for very, very long. And in the end, He said, well, He sends out absolutely all over into the highways and byways and brings in those who were not initially called. And we know that, of course, that has massive repercussions, and that's worthy of a whole video all by itself, that particular story. But once again, the point is, at the end, what the Lord actually says is, many are called, but few are chosen. And I feel that is really going on today. And then I started to look at the words, where it was the Lord's hand is not restrained. The Lord can save by many or by few. And perhaps we might be the few by who the Lord wants to really have a tremendous victory that not only will set ourselves free in our own circumstances, but many others as well. And actually, those scriptures come from the Old Testament. They come from 1 Samuel. And it comes from Jonathan, the son of Saul, and his armor bearer. 3 cheers for the armor bearer. I like the armor bearer. He knows there must have been such a close relationship between the two of them. And it's the time when the Philistines are sitting in the garrison and they're up on a rocky height. And Saul is not initially a coward, but it seems that on that day he's given certain orders, and we'll know what happens later on. And if you want to have a look at the whole story, it's 1 Samuel chapters 13 and 14. But because time is short in these videos, I'll leave it to you to read the rest of it afterwards. And it begins, by making the comment that at that time that it says that the Israelites haven't got any armory because the Philistines don't want, of course, that Israel be armed. So at the time of this particular exploit, it seems that only Saul and Jonathan have swords. The rest of the Israelites are forced to go to the Philistines to have all their agricultural weapons, if you like, made sharp, but only to take the harvest. There's not more than that. So they're not in a particularly good place. The Philistines have definitely got the upper hand in the way that they can intimidate Israel. And that is just the kind of situation that I feel is going on today, where there's a lot of intimidation. And actually, what you'll find here is that Jonathan, he's actually gone against what his father has said. Now, remember, his father's the king, and even though he's the king's son, there are repercussions, although we know that Jonathan gets away with it. And Jonathan, is he feeling indignant? No, I think Jonathan, he actually knows the heart of the Lord, and he knows something. And if you look at 1 Samuel and chapter 14, particularly if you look here at verse 6, you've got the situation described where the Israelites are absolutely hemmed in, they're restrained. And it says, Jonathan says to the young man who bore his armor, "Come, let's go over unto the garrison of these uncircumcised Philistines. It may be that the Lord will work for us. There is no restraint to the Lord to save by many or by few." And that's where it comes from. And the only two people involved in this exploit are Jonathan and the armor bearer. Well, honestly, wonderful armor bearer who doesn't say, well, we'll be wiped out. Your father hasn't given us permission, because already at the beginning of chapter 14, it says that Jonathan's already talked in verse 1 to the young man who's the armor bearer, "Come, let's go over to the Philistines' garrison on the other side." But he hasn't told his father. So he's got a bit of a cheek. He's got a bit of audacity. And I feel like that's what the Lord is asking at the moment, a bit of audacity for those who know the true heart of the Lord, which clearly on that day Saul didn't. And he says, maybe, they don't know, maybe the Lord will do it, because there's no way the Lord is going to be restrained, whether it's a huge army or whether it's just me and you, whether it's just a small number. And the wonderful armor bearer in verse 7 here says, "Do everything that's in your heart. Turn, go up there, and I am with you according to your heart." You want that kind of person right next to you when you are feeling that, no, the Lord might well act for us. And we know that there is a test in this as well, because Jonathan is not foolhardy. Okay, he's taken the risk to go against his father. He simply hasn't told his father what he's going to do. And the father has no idea what the repercussions at that point are going to be. And he says, well, we'll just wait a while. And what we'll do, we will pass over you can see there are two rocky outposts that are there because the Philistines are high up. And later on, you know that Jonathan and the armor bearer, they have to climb up with their hands, which is telling you it's steep indeed. And if you're climbing up with your hands, you're not going to be able to use your sword so easily as that. And he says, but we will test to see whether the Lord is going to deliver them or not. And he says, come, we'll go up, for the Lord's delivered them into our hand, and this shall be a sign. What will be the sign? If the Philistines say to them, just wait till we come to you, eh? And then Jonathan will know this is a sign. It's okay. The Lord has delivered and we will go up. So both of them, it says, discovered themselves. They reveal themselves to before the garrison of the Philistines. The Philistines say, behold, the Hebrews are coming out of the holes where they'd hid themselves. And at that point, the men of the garrison say to Jonathan and the armor bearer and say, come up to us and we'll show you a thing or two. I'm sure they had a thing or two in mind. And Jonathan said to the armor bearer, come up after me, for the Lord has delivered them to the hand of Israel. And we know that the victory is down to Jonathan's audacity, his knowledge of the Lord saying, yes, it's okay, I am with you. He has the heart of the Lord. It's no wonder that Jonathan is the best friend of the future King David, is it? It's absolutely amazing, the similarities between the two, but that again would be another video. And so they have a tremendous victory. Sadly, later on, it seems that Saul is upset because he's given orders that nobody will eat on all of this day. And of course, it turns out that Jonathan and the armor bearer have. But thankfully, the wiser people in Israel say, hang on, he's not going to be killed for that. And Jonathan survives. And you might think, well, that's a battle long ago. But no, it isn't. The Lord remains the same. And the Lord is still he who can deliver by many or by few. And I'm concentrating on the few because these are the ones the Lord is training right now to dare to put him to the test, if you like, and ask for a sign. Lord, will you do this thing so that we will have the victory? And of course, the glory and the honor goes to the Lord in the end. It is audacious what Jonathan does. Absolutely audacious. I'm equally impressed with the armor bearer on that day. So what about you today? Are you going to be hemmed in by the enemy? Or if the Lord asks you, if he puts it into your hand to stand up, if he puts it into your heart to stand up, if he puts it into your mind to stand up, will you do as Jonathan did on that day? Even if you're obliged to set some kind of a sign, the Lord is perfectly willing for that. Have you been called? Because all of them had been called for this. Or have you been chosen? And it seems that the part of the choosing is when we dare to step out because we know our God and we know that there is no restraint to what our God can do. And if he wants to use you, what will you do? Maybe you'll get accused of breaking the rules. Maybe you didn't tell the right people what you were about to do. And this is not, by the way, a recipe for doing some daft, foolhardy thing that the Lord never put into your heart. The point is, Jonathan did have this put into his heart by the Lord. He'd been looking at this situation. So do you dare, even if somebody says, hey, you were breaking all of the rules to do that. Some of the best battles, even, human battles here on the earth, were won by those who dared to break the rules. And I think the Lord loves it when his audacious people say, there's nothing can restrain our God. He can win the battle with many. He can win it with few. If he gives us the sign that this is okay, we are going to go for it. And I notice more and more from all over the world it's coming. There are people facing impossible odds, thinking, well, shall we go for it or shall we remain restrained and constrained, hiding away from the enemy? And what the Lord is saying, where you stand up, when the Lord has put his heart inside of you, then in that case, not only you will have the victory, but other people who've previously been restrained and constrained out of fear, they too will be set free. And it's worth it. So, Lord, I pray for everyone listening here. I'm certainly not recommending being foolhardy or proud or foolish, but simply having the guts to say, Lord, put your heart in me. Let me understand the nature of your character and your desire. Let me accept your training so that many can be set free, even if at first it costs me. And I pray that you will know that you are not just called, but that you are among the ones who have been chosen in this hour. Be blessed tremendously, everyone.